This is going to be the first video in a series of videos where we discuss claims focusing on oppression facing women as a whole. Throughout the series, we will address multiple misconceptions and misrepresentations of data that come with these claims, and then offer more substantial information. Let's begin. How to debate against the gender pay gap. When in a debate about whether or not something does or does not exist, the first thing we should do is define what we're talking about. For this definition, we're going to use Britannica because I believe they have a unanimously agreed definition, in which it states the gender pay gap is a systemic difference between average wages or salaries of men and those of women. People that argue that the gender pay gap does exist will argue that there's a set amount of money that a woman makes compared to every dollar that a man makes within the same career with the same amount of qualifications. The typical numbers that you'll hear will be 65 cents, 75 cents, 76 cents, 80 cents, occasionally 83 cents to the dollar that a man makes. So this is a visual representation of that, the idea that every dollar that a man makes within a career, a woman earns a substantially lower percentage of that dollar for the exact same job. Most people who believe the gender pay gap does exist got it from other people, but when trying to pursue what the most relevant source was for this information, we get the American Association of University Women. This is the most pertinent and important source. It's probably the first one you're going to find if you look up gender pay gap statistics. It's a widely cited source by most news articles, and when actually going into it, you're able to access the methodology, which we're going to look at because this is really, really important in discussing whether or not it's proper or not, and citing this as a piece of information or evidence for this claim. This is the methodology for the American Association of University Women study, and we're going to see whether or not this study supports the claim that a woman earns less on the dollar than her male counterpart in the exact same job. Now, the study describes the methodology as finding the median wage for men and women, then dividing the woman's median earnings by men's median earnings, which they get as a percent of about 80.499%. Just to make sure we understand, a median is the middle number out of a data set that's ordered from least to greatest. What that means is, in the methodology, they had a data set of workers' full-time wages and ordered them from least to greatest, and then picked the middle number to represent the median for men, and then they did one for women with full-time women workers, and then picked the median for women, and then divided the smaller one by the greater one to get the 80.499 number that you see within the methodology in the study. The methodologies in these gender pay gap studies remain pretty consistent, which is just finding the median for men, finding the median for women, dividing women by men to get a number. The only reason why you see differences like 65 cents to the dollar or 83 cents to the dollar is based on the data set that they're using. So if a data set is using very, very high wages, that means the median or the middle number is going to be increasing based on how many high numbers that they add, hence why you get 83 cents. If they're using a data set that includes very, very low wages, that means that the median or the middle number is going to be decreasing. It's going to be lower, hence why some people say 65 cents. And anything in between is because of the data set that's used. The methodology remains exactly the same, though, which is really, really good because that means that the rebuttal to the methodology remains consistent as well. No matter what study somebody provides you or what number somebody says, the rebuttal remains the same for the methodology, which is that this methodology isn't actually proving that two people in the same job, a man and a woman, earn differently. All it's simply saying is that when you compare full-time wages for men and full-time wages for women, the median is different. This isn't proof that there's a gender pay gap between two people in the same job. In fact, this methodology doesn't even include what job type somebody is or even the seniority in the job. This methodology is just simply proving that there's an average difference between wages between different jobs. This is what's referred to as an uncontrolled gender pay gap number. But when we actually control for it, it's a lot different than what people think it is. This is a comparison between an uncontrolled gender pay gap estimate and a controlled gender pay gap estimate. The uncontrolled only compares the median for men and women, just like the study we went over. The controlled number takes into account same job and same qualifications, which reduces the gender pay gap to only a 2-cent difference per dollar. This study is done by PayScale with a more relevant methodology. This is the explanation given by PayScale on the differences between controlled and uncontrolled gender pay gap estimates. Now, obviously, their explanation is a lot shorter than mine, but the salient point PayScale makes is that after experience, industry, and job level are accounted for, the actual gender pay gap is reduced to only 2 cent difference between a man and a woman in the same job. So, does a gender pay gap exist? Not exactly. Although there's a 2 cents difference in these estimates, there's still more factors to take into account that could eliminate any gender pay gap that exists. But for that, I'm going to have to make a second video. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. It's something really special when people take time out of their day to watch something that, you make. And because it's really special to me, I'm going to try to put as much effort as possible into making this higher quality content. I know is a little bit sketchy this time around, but practice makes perfect. I'm going to get better for you guys because I really do appreciate you taking time to actually learn something from me and, me being your choice to get help from sometimes. And that's really special. So, you guys have a good night. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one.